Hello and welcome to the ET Now CEO Roundtable, where we're talking about defining the 21st century corporation. And joining me today are two of the world's best-known CEOs, Indra Nooyi, Chairman and CEO of PepsiCo, and Dr. Daniel Vasela, Chairman and CEO of Novartis. Indra and Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
Indra, let me start with you. What do we exactly mean when we say the 21st century corporation? What's your conception of a 21st century corporation?
Okay. I think the times today are unprecedented, they're historic. This is the first time that I know in modern history where trust in corporations is really very low, trust in CEOs is even lower, and trust in governments is low. And I'm talking about the world at large. And I think the time has come for us to rethink what's the role of corporations, what's the role of the partnership between governments and corporations, and how are we going to address all of the issues of the world, because corporations can make things happen. Governments can set policy to make things happen. So unless these two sides work together, I'm not sure we can address the issues of the world. So I think when we talk about the new face of capitalism, it can no longer be companies making money at the risk of tossing cost to society. We have to think about it in a much more holistic way.
Right. Dan, is that your idea of a 21st century responsible corporation as well?
I think Indra said perfectly well. No question that the responsibility goes way beyond just making profit. It's a question if we can keep a license to operate in society, and for that we are required to respect some ground rules. But having said that, I am absolutely convinced that performance will remain key, and we will have to continue to deliver good results. The question is only at what costs and within what framework, which Indra just mentioned. Of course, we have fundamental changes also in the way we run the business, and the most profound change certainly has been done by IT and the permeation of IT.
Right. So the corporation that we're talking about is actually a product of the economy in which it competes and it flourishes. So we from an industrial society to now what everyone says the knowledge society, and Dan mentioned about IT, how that's changing consumer and even stakeholder expectations. So in what ways, Indra, do you think the economy is going to be different, the dynamics of the economy going ahead?
It's very important to understand. Corporations are limited liability enterprises, and they operate from a license from society. And the fact that you're a limited liability company means you can't abuse that power of limited liability. And you've got to give back to society, because if society succeeds, companies succeed, and if companies succeed, society succeed. So I think that interdependence has to be recognized all the time.
But Dan, do you think that's how corporations have worked over the years? I mean, that's not the sense I get when I look at how some of the corporations have behaved over the last, say, let's say 50 years.
Well, of course, if you look, it's a circle of stakeholders. We have shareholders. They want their return. We have the media who want to have news, hopefully controversial news. We have our employees. We have our customers. We have an array of people who have interest. NGOs, not the last and the least ones. And each and everybody has their own priorities, their agenda. And the difficulty in this is to define for what do we stand. From a point of view of purpose in society, what are the values we are delivering to society? What do we have as a right to earn back? How much is too much or too little? Should we give in to the shareholders on everything? Or do we have to take an own stand as corporations and managers? These are very fundamental questions we have to answer. We have to answer for ourselves first and foremost, and then with our colleagues in the corporation for the corporation.
Especially if you're a pharma company, where your upside on drug innovation can be limitless, depending on how you decide to price the drug. So how does Novartis deal with this question?
It's a very difficult one, but we have, of course, a cost structure that's a given, and the cost structure has evolved ever more expensive. That's one. The other is that we are highly regulated, so that in many instances, in most in fact, the price is being set by government. In rare cases, we have free pricing. And then it's a market where you look at competition and you look at the differential advantage you have as a drug. Is it better from a point of view of efficacy, better from a point of view of safety? What do you offer to the patient? And the fundamental objective, of course, is to improve the practice of medicine, that we can help physicians to treat patients better. That's our right of existence, if you want. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Right. I'll talk about more of Novartis's work in the area of making medicines accessible. But before that, Indra, I just want to rewind a little bit, look at what happened over the last 2 years. No one could have thought that some of the biggest icons on Wall Street would disappear or at least change their shape completely, or General Motors filing for bankruptcy. So what do you think fundamentally happened? Where did we go wrong?
You know, this is what I call the need-greed ratio. I think it's when people's greed far exceeds their need, okay, this is what happens. It's interesting, if I go back 2 years, 3 years, everybody knew these companies were going to collapse. But you know, somehow we kept hoping that that black swan moment would never happen, because everybody knew that leverage ratios were too high. Everybody knew that there was tremendous obfuscation in the facts. Everybody knew that. For some reason, economists knew it, didn't really make a stinker of it. Regulators knew that the ratios didn't look good, but somehow couldn't do anything. I think there was a great line by Chuck Prince, who was running Citigroup. He said, as long as the music is playing, I have to dance. But you know, music doesn't play all the time. It has to come to an end at some point. And I think when the thing unraveled, it brought down far too many secondary industries down with it. So I think it was inevitable. We all enjoyed it on the upswing. We're all struggling on the downward.